Good morning. Oh, how funny to see you here. How do you like that? Did you take your beautiful breath this morning and thank the Lord for giving you the mercy and grace to get us through a week, to get us through the weekend, to start us at Monday at the beginning of the week again? We have 5 working days to get some kingdom business accomplished at our jobs. Whether that's in being a silent testimony or holding Bible studies in your lunchroom. I don't know what you're called to do there, but right on. Here we are again. Look at, the Lord's given me Romans 12, verse 3. Okay, check it out. So it says, "For I say, through the grace given to me, to everyone who is among you, do not think himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, as God has dealt to each one a measure of faith." Let's try another version, shall we? Let's make sure we get this. Father God, open us up to receive your word right now so that we can understand what you're trying to tell us here. Because whatever it is, it's important. Okay, here we go. Let's try this. "For by the grace given me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment in accordance with the faith God has distributed to each of you." Ooh, like I've said before, we run our own race, but we're all running a race. Some people have been at it longer than others. Some runners can run 100 miles. They could run 50 miles. For some runners, 5 miles is an accomplishment. It's huge. Or even just to run a mile, or even to walk a mile. So the word here is telling us, don't think of yourself more highly than you ought to. I've put you at a certain level of training. I've given you a certain amount of training so far, from the beginning of your salvation to now, through all of the preachings and teachings I've given you. So that's where you are. Now, Bobby, Johnny, and Betty, well, you see, each of them started at another level, at another place. You see, they're not at the same level as you. That doesn't mean that you have any right to judge them, to hurt them, to make them feel less than. What it means is because maybe you've received more teaching, more training. You've been with the Lord longer. You know him better. You know how he works. You know the things he's done in your life. You know the things that he has stopped you from doing. So kick back. Love on these people when you want to pull their hair. Give them time when all you want to do is shove them forward. Look at, they can't. Everybody is going to be taught, fixed, worked on, restored, rejuvenated, refilled, educated, counseled in his time. It has nothing to do with you or me. We could play the number game and say, oh, I've been saved for such and such amount of time, or after da-da-da-da-da amount of years. Well, guess what? After da-da-da-da-da amount of years, you should have a little bit more love toward those who are just coming to understand.